Good afternoon, everyone. So today we're going to talk about street dogs in India and how data could guide to effective sterilization program nationwide. When I put this slide about nationwide, I was mindful that the solution we are thinking should apply to the scale of the country and not limited to locations, which is what current scenario is. So before I start that topic, Humane Society International work globally protecting all animals, and we have presence in more than 10 countries as a physical office, but we work more than in 50 countries where we have program and collaborations. So street dog is a unique definition given in a law in India. The law is about protecting street dogs. But most of the time when we hear about dog, we call them free roaming dogs when they are influenced through pet population. So pet population create abandonment, create a free roaming dog population on the street, while street dogs are uniquely defined in the law 2001, which brought into India to protect their rights. And within that law, which further redefined in 2023, strengthening the protections for street dogs in India, there are about 62 million street dogs in India. And if we convert that into a ratio with the human, it's about 4.5 dogs per 100 human. Why with the human? Because it's easier to compare, it's easier to multiply when we put into context with the people or human. Now the conflict. People do take care of street dogs in India, but that's not always true. There's a conflict in India because about 17.4 million dog bite cases happen annually in India. And India is one of the largest contributing in terms of rabies death in human through dog bite or through dog mediated rabies in India. So that's the conflict. And while this conflict exists, street dogs are across India. So it's not that only in urban areas where currently programs are focusing, street dog exist, but they exist across India. And currently, about 60 to 70 municipal corporation or urban bodies in India are operating street dog population management program. While they're operating about 12 million US dollar, a public fund or public money, government of supported money goes to this program in 60 or 70. About 30 or 40 new urban dog population management program going to happen sooner or later. So we're talking about a large proportion of money going behind such program in India. While there's a street dog situation across the India, there are pet population also, which varies state by state and city by city, which is also growing rapidly in most urban areas of India, where the millennial human population of people who are born around 2000 are more into having pets, and they are the one who driving this, and its trend is growing in India. So that is a new challenge going to come in near future. So considering this fact, I want to take a step back and understand the history, like how humans started having a dog. So about 20 to 40,000 years ago, we started domesticating dogs, and dogs and human relationship developed through this long history because dogs were helping humans with hunting and guarding while humans were providing food and shelter. With this situation in India, free roaming dogs population or street dog population uniquely developed because of the religion, myth, belief, and widely accepted in part of the Indian culture. But this was not the case in India, where we were only dealing with street dog by spay and neuter. If we look documented history, around 1800, British and Indian administration were dealing with the street dog population by killing them. In fact, they made it easy that anyone could kill dogs, bring that dead body to police officers, and they would reward them with the cash money. So that was the practice around 1800, which continued when India became independent, and Indian administration also learn or use that learning from British that killing is the only way, which continued again for decades in India. At the end, some work by Blue Cross of India in helping suffering, a pioneer work, started in around 1990, which brought one law, which was in 2001, further got modified into 2023. This is the law which protecting street dogs in India. This is the law which tells that there is only one intervention allowed in India for street dog, which is spay neuter. Vaccinate and return them to the location where they are living. So no one is allowed to remove, dislocate, or kill street dogs by legally. So this is the law, and thanks to Blue Cross of India and Helping Suffering, because of their hard work, this came into place. Now, while that's the case, if we consider own dog, which is acquired by an individual or family, kept inside house or in farm or in various settings, street dog could be defined as a dog living on the street and their progeny successfully reaching to the maturity age. That is street dog. A little to no influence from own dog abandonment is the case in many parts of the India. In most of the world where we see free roaming dog, the situation is either abandonment or generation of abandonment creating a free roaming dog population. But that's not the case in majority of the part of the India. Then there could be a feral dog, but when it comes to free roaming dog, it could get more complex, and we always hear about community dog or free roaming dogs, which is a combination of several things. Communities feeding dog or community taking care of dog could be combination of any of that. And as I was saying, that animal birth control program, which is ABC in a short form, which is widely accepted terminology in India, according to that law, government has to bear the cost of such program. So funding is not issue in India. The government or the municipality has to bear the cost. Fixed amount is paid per spay neuter for street dog to NGO or individual who are working on that program. Now, while that's the case, unless we sterilize 90% female dog population, and why I'm saying female dog population, we'll talk about that on our later slides, the most program remain ineffective. So while the money is not an issue, while we know the science, still we are struggling to manage the street dog population. Also, most NGOs or individuals working in India, they use paper-based record, which are again create some issues with the government and public, which are kind of trust breaking. So when you don't have a robust technological record keeping, it creates more issues between government and NGOs and people. Now, if such program exists and running, what we are missing in that? Why we are still talking about it? So in most cities where a program, as I said, in Jaipur, in Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Chennai, Vadodara, started program about 2 decades, 3 decades by now. Although those started by a few decades, we still get negative media, and not that media is negative for a reason, but because there are still dog bite and incident of conflict between people and dog exist. This is the data we collected for about 16 Indian cities in about 46 breeding cycle. And if you look particularly, when your spay-neuter program is only covering 20 to 60% of the dog population, which is 20 to 60% female dog population, the impact of that is least to none. So there is no much of impact. Impact we are seeing is between 80 to 100. So when a program sterilizes more than 80% dog population, there is some decline in lactating and pups, which is indicator that dog population should be declining following that. This is a model published in Nature, fantastically produced for Indian cities context, which says that if there is no program in a city in India, the population growth won't be drastically changing even in 3 decades. So it will not change drastically, but it will change in the context of how many people are living in that city. So there's a connection between people living and the food provision by people to street dog. Another myth is always we hear that, oh, well, the garbage is the one who's driving the dog population on the street. That is not true, that garbage has not enough nutrition to sustain the street dog population. We are talking about thousands and thousands of street dog in India. So people who provide food to street dog are the driving factor. So as human population grow, it will also contribute to increase in dog population, but not drastically. Now, why that's the case? Because if we look as any mammal situation, any mammal who's surviving in a natural condition or in environment, there's a carrying capacity for that population. The population could go little up and will come down, as that is the environment could hold the population. While the killing was the practice in India, what used to happen, they used to kill 50% of dog. Well, while they kill 50% dog, the remaining 50% population who can breed rapidly will bounce back to the carrying capacity. Why that is the case? Because currently, based on the studies, only 20% pups survive on the street. So if a female has a litter of 5 or 6, only one pup survives to the age of 12 months. So that is because the population is at the carrying capacity, 20% pups survive. The moment the carrying capacity goes down, there is a 5-fold potential for growth. So the population could rapidly grow back to the carrying capacity. And at the carrying capacity, because of the restriction of the food and environment can sustain that population, it will remain around that and could grow slowly to some level. Oops. Now, what should be the approach then for India? If, again, the same paper produced the model which says, if you sterilize 40% of the female dog population, population will decline. It will take some time, but it will decline. And the reason, because once you sterilize more than 90% female dog annually, 40%, there won't be any new puppies born on the street and contributing to the population. So you cut off intake and you continue with the natural death. So that is how the population should decline. Now, I'm coming with the female-centric approach here for the India because we are dealing with the, as I said, 62 million street dog population in India. 62 million. A normal scenario, if we take a city like we have a program in Lucknow, 80,000 dog population, 80,000 street dog. So now, when we are dealing with such big dog population, what could be the scientific approach for that? Can we just focus on female? And how this female-centric approach came? Well, it's documented well in 2009 Animal Welfare Board of India's guideline, which says that if you focus on female, it will produce better results. Well, it is also documented in WHO guideline 1990, also documented in few publications, which explain why in modeling, female-centric approach would produce better results. Recently, there was a conference, ICAM, virtual conference, in which one of the scientists produced or explained why a female-centric approach for street dog would produce much, much better results. So it is widely documented, widely discussed, and advised. Now let's take an example. As I was saying, there are 80,000 dogs. What happens with that? The recruitment through only birth. So if there's 80,000 street dog population, about 40-45% female dog and rest are the male dog. In that, every year, about 20% population is recruited through birth. If 20% population is recruited through birth, and if your sterilization speed is, let's say, 15%, this is what happens. This is what happens. The moment you finish 80,000 dog sterilization, in few years, there's a whole new population. So 15% will not work. That is what the classic programs are in India currently. If 80,000 dog population, you're dealing with the speed of 30% per year, it will take some time, but you will reach. So the model we saw, which suggested 40% annual sterilization, well, this is a simpler example, but there is no limit. You can do more than 40%, so 50%. Well, you could do 50% per year. It will take 2 or 3 years, but you have better results. Your investment will produce more robust results. So this is classical example of what we do in India in most cities. You do it so slowly because we don't have infrastructure, we don't have capacity. Our program is completely dependent on people's skill. People cannot manage more than this. This is what will happen if you continue with this approach. So what we as Humane Society International, we're coming up with engaging with the local government, explaining them the science, conduct baseline studies, produce number of street dogs, explain them how it will work. I'm rushing a bit fast because there was a warning. This is simple but effective technology, could be used for data collection and producing street dog estimation. And one of the clips, we did study in Mauritius in 2018 to show you that it's simple.
By counting those dogs on the street every 6 months, we can compare them over the time of period and prove that sterilization has not only improved welfare but also impacted total.
And with that, the survey is not about just 3 minutes. Survey is not about just that we're counting dogs and that's all. Counting dog, estimating population will tell you that unless you have capacity to do 40% or larger intervention, don't spend the money. Don't start something which is too small, and you will end up into that cycle of not having an impact. So if understand your need, understand that this is what required. While we're doing baseline, setting a baseline, we also understand dogs per kilometer density, and the same density could be used in future to monitor how much impact we are creating. What we do, what amount of public money we spend, are we actually making an impact? If we are making impact, what type of impact we are making? And based on that learning from one municipal corporation or one urban bodies, how we can replicate that for many more in India. So that's the approach. So engaging with the municipal corporation, advising them, telling them the science, explaining them how to use their money wisely, where it produce results, help them, help people, help animal, win-win situation. As I said, a phase 1 for such program could be 2 to 3 years, where you sterilize 90% of female dogs. Female again, because we don't have resources. We don't have that kind of infrastructure to deal with 80,000, 100,000, 200,000 dog population on the street. So that's why it is a small scale sterilization could continue with the local organization and veterinarians, which part. Another critical problem in India, geographical area approach. I speak with several municipalities, and the classic problem is, well, we cannot work outside of the administrative boundary. If you cannot work outside of administrative boundary, for dog, that's not the boundary. The street dog population live in the geographical area 1 minute. And that is why we are unsuccessful. We keep doing programs decades after decades. And we're just focusing on the administrative boundary while street dogs live and enjoy the life the way they should be. So geographical area is missing. Female-centric, we have to be a little smarter how we spend our public fund, and creating local partnership and sustainability, because no international organization, no one can solve the problem for locals. So you have to find your partners, work with them. And as I said, baseline study, understand the science, monitoring, evaluation, assess your program. Are you making progress? What progress? How much progress you're making? And then see how that is impacting. We have a dedicated page on HSI website, Monitoring Evaluation Impact Assessment, where we have several papers we published, similar presentations you could find over there. Well, we have an annual conference, happens in USA every year, and next year is in San Antonio, Texas. So it's huge, about 2,000, 3,000 people like you professional attends it. Please check it out and register. Thank you so much. On time.
Now the next approach regarding the spaghetti is also coming towards the rhesus or non-human primates. So especially in case of Simla and Uttar Pradesh, it has been declared as ineffective approach. So if you look at the scenario of dogs, whether it's declining the population growth rate or whether it's declining the population.
If I'm getting your question correctly, the dog population will only decline if your program is very effectively implemented. Most of the time, we criticize spay neuter itself, but I don't think the spay neuter is the problem. Problem is how we implement program is the problem. How, as I said, geographical approach, volumetric approach, your implementation strategy should be criticized, not spay neuter as a component, because spay neuter will work if we do it rightly. So I think there's a huge learning scope in this area, and we need to share more learnings and data with around India with more urban bodies. Yes, please. Time's up. Lunch.
Can I just make
Yeah, please.
one answer to that?
Sure. Yeah.
The rabies has come down. Like Chennai has 0 rabies today.
Awesome. Yeah.
Because of the spay neuter. And I only want to know whether you have approached Kerala, where there is a cultural problem also.
Right. We work in Kerala for a couple of places. Yes, I know there's a more challenges over there, but I think we have to find a way how we can work with the government, and government kind of convince people or hear the people's voice and implement program. But yeah, it's difficult place. It's challenging. It's not always you get the places where you're welcomed and people, government, NGOs are working happily for one solution. Yeah, it's challenging. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.